The real Reo Hatate, the impact of Palma and the resurrection of Liam Scales. We'll cover it all and much more in this week's show. This is the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino. And this week I'm joined by a full house of Paddy, Miff and James as we cover all things Celtic. Miff, let's just get started with Reo Hatate's goal. Talk us through it, especially the nutmeg at the start.
Hello Tino, hello James, hello Paddy, hello listeners. I was directly behind it. That's where I sit, and what a view I had of it. Absolutely magic to watch, fantastic. And I think there was a wee article post-match around Rodgers talking about intensity on the ball, and I think for anybody that watches Hatate on a regular basis, he plays the game at his own pace, and sometimes he could be doing with just that wee bit of urgency. So you have to say, if that's what the information that his coach is giving him, and we're now seeing that manifest itself on performances in the park, it can only be a good thing for us and for the club. It was a real bit of drive, intensity, and you could actually see the celebrations after it as well. He loved it. He knew it was a great goal. But honourable mention to Kyogo's run across the defence as well, drags the defender away. It's just a brilliant goal all round. But it's what we know he's capable of.
And from Hatate's point of view, Paddy, we've heard comments from in the couple of years or so that he's been in Scotland, talking about the fact that he is ambitious and he's got goals and targets he wants to achieve in his career. And as much as he's 25 years of age, he's only really played pro for 3-4 years. And listen, as and when he decides to move on, very best of luck to him. He's signed a new deal at Celtic and everybody wins there. But that intensity is what's been lacking, certainly in the opening part of this season. He's, as Miff says, he's his own man, he plays in his own style, which at times can be frustrating because it's almost too relaxed. It's like, I'll try this wee pass. It's not worked out. That's not quite good enough at Celtic. It's clear that Rodgers has had a word, and we've seen the direct benefit at the weekend.
Yeah, I think we did. There's this myth that he's went off the boil because he was trying to facilitate this move out. I generally think it's just been a total change on everything that's been going on at Celtic. New manager, new style, new setup, dealing with an injury and coming back into it. If there's a manager that's going to be able to make you ready to make that step up, if it goes Premier League, for example, it's going to be Brendan Rodgers. And I think that, that urgency could be a little bit more, but then there's plenty of games last season where he did take the game with the scruff of the neck for us as well. I don't think we can forget that. It has definitely been his best performance this season to date, so brilliant to see it. But if we're getting that week in, week out, then that's terrifying for the rest of this league. I really do think so. I thought he was outstanding on Saturday. I had a lot of questions after the game in the game against Lazio, about the risk-taking Reo Hatate that we've seen in the first season and a half to what we've seen on Wednesday there. I was a little bit unsure about how confident he was in his own ability at points. But then games like that, if you've got a manager in there, it's basically telling you are capable to make a step up, but you need that intensity. And we've seen it on Saturday. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Just to both those points, Rodgers' comments directly about Hatate after you referenced all of that, and he said that's a level that wasn't the level on Wednesday night, so it didn't go unnoticed. But it's the fact that he sat him down, talked him through his own game, and said, "Look, here's what I need from you, and I know you can do it." And then he's delivered it. That's phenomenal, both for the coach and the player and the fans, that's all working, and we get the benefits of it.
Yeah. What we're seeing with our own eyes, you're seeing the real man management side of Brendan Rodgers coming to the fore now. There's lots of really good footage from after some of the recent games, but the game against Kilmarnock being a great example. It shows you him going directly to Reo Hatate, spending just a bit of time with him. He's got the arm round the shoulder, Hatate's got the arm round him, and they're clearly connecting on some level, whether it's this is what I've asked you to do and you've done it for me, or whatever the conversation is. But he's clearly got really good relationships across the board, James, and Matt O'Reilly's actually a great example, isn't he? He just seems to thrive under that, and I think most human beings thrive under that. I understand Ange had a bit more of a standoffish approach, but we're all motivated as individuals in different ways, whether it's in life or work or sport or whatever, and sometimes you just need somebody to put the arm around the shoulder and give you that bit of guidance, and he clearly does that.
I think most would fall towards it. Do you want the kind of distant stepfather of Ange, or do you want the nurturing Brendan Rodgers? He's got that talent. I think the level we're performing at, I just mean singly in Europe, the level we're performing at with the players we've got is because of Rodgers. There's additions required to that squad, and he's still getting level with the teams he's playing. I think he's doing a phenomenal job.
Well, you think back to his first season, there wasn't a huge change in personnel brought into the team. We were working with Dyler's team. A lot of them had kind of down tools under Dyler, and we've seen a resurgence from quite a few of them, especially Dedrick Boyata. I think he was one player that just had someone coming in and massage the ego. Someone I actually remember Lennon was really, really good at that with Samaras, and I think that man management really does play its part. But you can't take anything away from the style that Ange has, in the sense of that team almost feared to do wrong under Ange. So therefore the levels were extremely high. This is a whole team trying to trust this guy and understand that this guy's style of management. And if you're getting that only at the beginning of October, I think that's pretty good going, considering we never fully got all the players we wanted to get.
I think as well, just from an overall performance point of view, Hatate's individual performance was outstanding, but as a team performance as well, we missed a hell of a lot of chances. You know, in other games there's maybe been chances, but maybe single figure chances, whereas at Celtic Park you'd maybe be creating double figure chances. It was back to that. And Saturday it was really, really intense for all the team, I thought. So if Rodgers' message is getting across both to individuals and collectively, I think we're really seeing it bearing fruit now. And I take your point, Jamie. I think it's one that shouldn't be missed out around, you know, the level of performance that we've seen for the 2 European games. Disappointing results, naturally, but I've been going to these games for long enough now, and the game against Lazio, performance-wise, is probably as good as we've played at Celtic Park at home in Europe in a long, long time.
Paddy, just on the Lazio stuff, so myself and James done the final whistle show to cover all the big talking points, but not actually had your own chat on that. So what's your general summary of the night? Listen, such a sore one to lose the late goal, but to Miff's point, performance-wise, for the most part, pretty pleasing, but what's your overall take on it?
I think just the thing missing for me, it wasn't entirely a gutsy display. I think they were very, very comfortable with the ball. And some of the boys disagreed with me. I was pretty upset with the overall performance, more in the fact that was a team that was there to be beaten. And I just generally thought that a couple of players maybe froze under the occasion. We seen the difference down the left when Palmer come on. Just a bit more confidence for Taylor and who was in front of him. But if this is what you're going to be up against, you need to have confidence in every single player that you're playing with. You need to have confidence in playing that forward pass. And that's what I was talking about from Hatate. We looked at the pass completion rate of last season. In fact, he gets slated for it. A podcast gets slated for highlighting it. But it all came back from the fact that he was trying this killer pass. He was trying to make things happen. And the one night we would have wanted him to have done that and take the game with the scruff of the neck, as we've said, was Wednesday night, and he didn't. He didn't. And I think that those little moments cost us. We're already kind of dealing with like a makeshift centre-half pairing in Liam Scales and Nat Phillips, taking nothing away for their performance, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. But we even seen the difference when Carter Vickers come on. It was a bit more zip about us, a lot more considered approach. But by that point, albeit we got the goal which was chopped off, but we left it too late in that sense to really go for the jugular. And I just thought that it was poor from players that should know what it takes.
What I like, so yeah, I think overall there was loads of positives to take from Wednesday night, but of course there's things to go through. James and I discussed the fact that there's no doubt there will have been a debrief at Lennoxtown or wherever on Thursday or Friday or whenever they choose to do these things. And I like the fact that it certainly looks like, just in in terms of a small example, it looks like Brendan Rodgers and his coaching team have seen that lack of intensity from Reo Hatate, and they've done something about it in a short couple of days. Now, it's not an overnight fix. No, that's something Hatate will need to bring to his game time after time. But it's good that and as you'd expect from a pro like Rodgers, they're picking up on the various points you need to, and they're doing something about it. So we know it's a team in transition, we know it's a team that's learning, but there's certainly really positive signs from the Lazio game that we're getting there. The one big lack for me, and it's so obvious, is we just didn't have that ruthlessness, that killer touch to go and get the second. And we were so unlucky not to get Palmer's goal, but you're quite late in the day, Paddy, when you've dominated for a long time and you've got to score when you're on top, Miff.
Yes, and I think that Paddy's quite right to say it's the feeling of disappointment comes from knowing that the game was there to be won, and having dominated much of the second half and much of the game, it felt like Palmer's goal was that big moment. But like you say, Paddy, it's late in the day, it's then hard to go and galvanise yourself again. The way I was looking at it was, the team has both Taylor and Scales in it, and at times in the first half in particular they gave the ball away a few times. You know, I think Scales a couple of times had tried to play like first time passes and really deep inside his own half that didn't quite come off, and there's always an extra wee bit of nervousness around the stadium in those nights, and I understand that it's high stakes stuff, but I was kind of thinking to myself, well, you know, you could go there and you could berate Greg Taylor and Liam Scales if you wanted, but those guys are probably going onto the park knowing that, if you're being quite blunt about it, that isn't their level or their natural level. They're probably just a wee bit below that. Is it any good berating these guys for giving the ball away? I don't really think it's...
Not when they're giving their tank.
You know, you can see these guys are giving their absolute all, regardless of what you might think, you know, or what your opinion may be of them as players. So you take that into account. But I think the overriding feeling for me was that the negative for me was that was the glaring deficiency of the summer, was that those positions weren't felt to better. And I know we've had injuries, and I know you could argue that if Nawrocki's playing fine, but you could even argue goalkeeper, left back don't have better in them, and therefore the result is engineered from that. But that's being negative when, to go back to James's original point, that team that we had out in the park was extremely well coached, approached the game very well, and should have got more from it, and it's just as simple as that.
I suppose at this moment in time, and always for Brendan Rodgers, his main job is to get the most he can out the group he's got available to him. If Celtic sign better players and stuff, that's a different story, and they certainly should have given him a bit more support in the window. But right now he's got who he's got, and he's getting the best tune he can out of those guys, and I think that's all you can ask for. You could certainly argue, and myself and James did discuss it in the post-match, that if he had a better striker to call upon off the bench, so when Kyogo had to go, he was done. O's not doing it at this moment in time, Paddy. I think your money's in jeopardy. Now you've got a bet with Marty.
Early payout.
Is it 50?
I'll tell you what, his cameo on Saturday. Oh, jeez, man.
But again, that's kind of like what you were talking about with Scales and Taylor. Is he feeling the pressure of like for the crowd? And listen, I get it. We need to see better from him.
I like him, by the way. I like him.
I do. I thought I seen glimpses, but he's not getting the game time to try and even muster up something, and I just don't think it's there. I really don't.
I agree, and it's hard to just be getting 15, 20 minutes. He's not even getting the luxury of playing up top with Kyogo either. He's getting thrust up there and just, you know, it's almost like a slapping the backside run about for his big man.
But see, when Jackie Marcus was coming off the bench, you know, a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, or whatever, kind of thing, you're going, get a chance of doing something here. See, when he's coming off the bench, you're going, there's nothing going here.
What do you need, Paddy? 15 goals from the man?
15, nah. He's not scored yet.
Get your check, look at time's up. Okay, let's have a look at what's coming up on this week's show. First up, we'll look at the impact that Louis Palma is now having as the Honduran grabbed his second goal in a week in an impressive all-round performance. Elsewhere, we then look at the rise of Liam Scales as he continues to nudge himself further up the centre-half pecking order. Then it's time for the 11th man as the boys try to name the missing man from a well-known Celtic lineup. And finally, we take a closer look at Celtic's ongoing relationship with the City Football Group and where that may go in the future. Okay, let's get the ball rolling by taking a closer look at Louis Palma, who's now scored in back-to-back league games for us against Motherwell and Kilmarnock. Paddy, what's your general thoughts on what he's brought to the party so far?
Slowly but surely impressing me. I think very, very comfortable with the ball at his feet, and he seems to have a ping on him, doesn't he? Seems to have a good finisher of the ball. Quite like to see him in a dead ball situation as well. I've heard good things on that front. But no, he's impressing me, and I think a lot of people were maybe calling out his pace in one of his first games. Not all wingers need to be quick.
100%. Do you know what? It's scribbled here in the notes because I think that's such an important point. Jota wasn't blessed with blistering pace, but he's very comfy and very good at, you know, with a football at his feet. Even more extreme example, David Beckham had no pace and was one of the best right wingers in the game. Chose when to make the early cross and link up with his teammates and stuff. So listen, Maida will do all the pace work. Yeah. He can do all the runabout you want. Now and then you need to get a player who can play ball, and I think Louis Palma can definitely do that. I think he's just settling in more and more. Starting at the weekend will have done the confidence the world of good, and he's just getting up to the speed of our game. It is frantic, always has been. I don't think it will take him long.
Just on the point of pace, I thought he showed a bit more on Saturday. I don't know if it's maybe just a fitness thing. I thought in the Feyenoord game, it looked like it was towing a caravan, but there was a few times where he'll take it by the centre half and the fullback, and the fullback kind of
He get booked.
seemed to be struggling to really contain him. So there's a wee bit of hope there. Maybe it is just a case of getting up to speed, as you say, Paddy.
It's knowing who's around you as well. You know, just getting into like the match practice of who you're playing alongside. And already, I think we've seen glimpses on Wednesday night and on Saturday of a nice start to a partnership with Taylor, because it is going to be Taylor as a left back up until January or further on. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. James, as Paddy says, early days, but signs are pretty promising. As we know up top, it's always Kyogo, Maeda and one other, at least at this moment in time, and Abada will remain out till around about January. So there's a spot there for the taking. And based on the last couple of showings, do you think he's now, as in Louis Palmer, he's now put himself in the driving seat for that third place?
I think so. The wider challenge, and Saturday was part of it, and I suppose so was Wednesday, was training Maeda that he can also play in the right wing, because he's been always there in the left wing, pinning the right back. And he's saying, well, if you can do it there, you can do it on the other side as well, because that has to happen to accommodate Palmer, because he's just comfiest on the left. So, but I'm with Paddy. He's slowly but surely, game by game, impressing you more and more. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly put himself in there. I mean, it's not Yang just now, is it? So, until the likes of Tilio starts putting himself in the mix in Abada, then it's himself.
Hold on.
Jamesy
Forrest. You tried this part last week,
he done well when he came on.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Hey, what about his running behind
He did.
Maeda? You should have got the ball played
He
into
should have
him.
got the ball.
Blistering pace.
He should have
It was a
scored
bit
from the
of ball.
rebound, though.
It was a good run to distract everyone. They could give the ball to Kyogo. No, it was a good run.
Aye.
And it was a good run last week for O'Reilly and stuff like that. So he's not without merit, but he's not for starting.
No.
He had his testimonial dinner last night, I think. Congratulations to James. He's still got a part to play, but it's not as a starter, generally speaking. Miff, just to ask a question, James made the point, and he makes the point frequently, that Maeda's at his best on the left wing, but I've got to be honest with you, he's equally
Just as fast.
mad on the right hand side. He does great things and some not so great things. I don't think it matters to him where he is. He does his thing and that's it. The bigger question, we discussed it again pre-match, was do you need Maeda to be doing his bombing about defensive stuff against Kilmarnock, or is it maybe a place for more gifted wingers like Yang and Palmer?
I think that's a good point. One of the things that I was about to say there just on that is, I know, I've just cut you right off there.
Oh.
Hit the legs. You do it
Just
to me.
check. My nose is still there.
I think that the worry for me is Alistair Johnson doesn't look too comfortable playing down the line with him, and I think
With Maeda?
with Maeda.
Needs an Abada or Tilio.
I don't think the link's there, and I don't know if it will be there. Wednesday again, I think for me, Alistair Johnson's definitely on that team sheet. I think he is going to get better, and I think he is a Champions League right back. But I thought he was poor, and I think he was more tentative about who he had in front of him.
And it's a valid point, because partnerships are important across the park, and different players just develop different link-ups, and it's not as straightforward as saying my two centre-halves are pals and my two strikers are pals and all that stuff. You need those link-ups right across the park, and I think Taylor is a better player for Maeda being in front of him, and maybe that just works better than it seems to do so for Alistair Johnson, for example. But I suppose that's where it's encouraging that guys like Louis Palmer, so he's only 5 games into his Celtic career, he's only had 5 appearances and he's only had 2 starts, and so far so good. I would say you can see the technical qualities there. That his finish at the weekend's brilliant. The kind of swaz, James,
Swaz
is the word. Just this, the movement he gets in the ball is pretty impressive. But across the board, I just thought he had a very good, whatever it was, an hour or so on Saturday, and he just looks like he's just started to fit into what this is. Listen, he's from Honduras, right? Different part of the world. Spent a year in Greece, and he's now in Glasgow. Of course, it's going to take a wee bit of time, but it sounds like he's getting there, Miff.